Good morning all, and welcome to today's webinar on OneNote. Just like to take this opportunity just to talk about Solutions IT. For those of you who don't know who we are, welcome. We have been working with K-12 schools now for just over 20 years, providing support to WA schools. I'd like to also welcome Steve Payne from Standout Education. Thank you very much for putting this together for us today. And I'd also like to welcome Troy Webber, Learning Delivery Specialist from Microsoft. Welcome, guys. I'll hand over now to you, Steve.
Thanks, Sarah. Brilliant. So that's me. I'm a Microsoft Learning Consultant or Learning Delivery Specialist, lots of different titles. You've got my Twitter handle there and the Microsoft Australia Education team. And I'm going to talk about OneNote and the class notebook today. And you will be able to ask questions via text throughout the day, and I'll just show you how that works in a moment. And manning the text today is my colleague Troy Waller from Victoria.
G'day everyone. Future's looking very bright here in Victoria.
Thanks, Troy. So just a little bit of housekeeping about this live event. That's not me, but that's someone else on a live event. So hopefully you're watching this right now. If you've come in late, you can actually drag the scrubber back to the beginning. And you have, in fact, I'm just going to turn my laser pointer on. There we go. So you can actually turn the scrubber right back to the beginning if you've come in a few minutes late. And if you want to go back to something because it was really interesting, you can just go back and go back to live whenever you want. So that's now. At any time you've got a question, you have a little question icon either on your phone or your computer, however you're watching this, and you just type in a question. Don't worry, they don't go live unless Sarah or Troy publish them. So this might be just a way to say give a message to us or ask us to show something. You can do that through the Q&A button, and we can either reply just to you. So if you've got a question and it's quite specific to you, we can reply to you, or we can give you some advice. But if it's useful to everyone, we can actually publish that. Also, Troy and Sarah can make announcements. So if there's a useful website they want to share or they want to clarify something I've said, they can actually post a message to everyone. So there's a little bit of interactivity here. So I've asked Sarah and Troy to interrupt me if they want something clearing up or you want me to show something. Otherwise, we will address some questions at the end of today, and if they're more technical or specific to your environment, we can follow up via email. So that's the admin out of the way. Anything you wanted to add there, Sarah or Troy?
Yeah, just very quickly, we will send an email out with a link to this recording to everyone after this. And if for any reason you don't get that link, because it may come automated via Eventbrite, then just go to our website, solutionsit.com.au, go to the news section, and you will see all of the recordings from all of the webinars that we're running at the moment up there. So as we get them, they'll be posted on our news section of our website. Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah. Okay,
and,
so
Stephen, sorry, I've got a quick question. Someone's asking about the platform that you're using today, being Teams live events, and how that might be used for students. Did you want to just quickly mention a little bit about that?
Very, very quickly. If you use Teams within your school or university, you can, as well as having a live meeting where everyone is collaborative, you can also set up a Teams live event, which is what we're doing now. And what that allows is for me to kind of lecture you and have the interaction via chat. So you haven't got people sort of coming off mute or sharing their screen by mistake. And you've also got a few little sort of production things you can do in the background. We can send out some information about live events as well. But let's have a look at OneNote. So every school and university in Australia pretty much now has access to OneNote as part of Office 365. You can get to it through your school or university portal, but you can also just go to office.com, wherever you happen to be on a web browser, and you'll come to this page here. So you will see, once you log on to office.com, you'll see all the apps that you have access to. And that does vary from school to school and state to state. So I know some people have Teams. For example, in Western Australia, the students don't have Teams in department schools, but staff do. So you do see slightly different things depending on where you are. Great thing is, pretty much everyone has access to OneNote and the OneNote class notebook. So they are the two that we're going to really focus on today. And in fact, it's really just OneNote. OneNote is the tool that we're going to be using. Class notebook just adds a few more extra management tools for staff. So what is OneNote? So very simply, it allows you to take all of your content, whether that's digital or physical, and convert it into a notebook that's accessible from any platform. So really, I think the two main benefits of having OneNote are you can access your notes wherever you are. So you can have the OneNote app on your mobile phone, as well as your iPad and your work computer and your home laptop or whatever you're using. But you can also share it with other people. So if you're a group of teachers planning a year 5 lesson sequence on science, you can actually plan that, and you can add resources all in the same place from whatever device you're on. So you can access it wherever you are, and you can collaborate with other people. And it'll make sense once we look at a few examples. So you can download the OneNote app from OneNote.com. It's free to download, but you can also access it via the web, which is what I'm going to be doing today. And there's really built into OneNote are lots of really great features, particularly designed for education, and that's really the focus of today. So what I'm going to do first of all is just very quickly step you through how you'd set up a class notebook, and then we'll look at one in action and how you can use the features within that. But if you think of a class notebook as being a way of you collating all of the resources you want your students to access, but also like an exercise book where they can all work in their own environments as well. So if every student in your class will have a notebook, they can all make notes, answer questions, share ideas. But as a teacher, you're the only one that can go into their notebook. They don't see each other's. So it's a really great way of organising content and having that one-to-one feedback in real time. So hopefully we can see the benefits of that as we go through. So when you create a class notebook, you literally just click on class notebook here and create it. If you don't see the class notebook button here, generally you would just click on the top left-hand corner, the waffle there, and you'll be able to see all of the apps you have, or you can click here and it will show you other apps that maybe aren't on your page when you first open Office 365. So when we create a class notebook, you would really create this if you wanted to share it with students. If you were just sharing with colleagues, or it was a principal sharing things with teachers, you wouldn't do a class notebook. You'd only do that if you were actually going to share it with a class. So very easy. There's 7 steps, and 2 of them aren't really steps at all. They're just information panels. So what's the name of your class? You give your class a name. It may be the name of your school, the year group, and the teacher's name. So here we've got one just called Summer School. And then it tells you what you're going to be creating. So you create a collaboration space where students and teachers can all work together. So teachers can put templates and students can fill them in. You do have control over that. So particularly if you've got students working from home and taking part in remote learning, you might want to limit what they can do freely. You can actually turn that off, or you could make it available just for smaller groups, and we'll look at that in a little while. You've got a content library, which is where you can publish content to the students. They can view it, but they can't edit it. So it's very much a where you might put your lesson handouts, your templates, homework tasks, and those sorts of things. And then each student has a private space that's just for them. As a teacher, you can go in and see what the students are doing. You can give feedback, and that can be written feedback with a digital pen. It can be typed feedback. You can leave audio feedback, and there's even some really cool stickers you can leave your students as well. And whatever age the students, from kindy up to university students, everyone loves a sticker. So those are the spaces we create. We click on next. We can add another teacher. So it might be that you've got a teaching assistant, or you might have a co-lecturer at university, or a presenter or something like that. So you can add another teacher. You just type their name in and it will pick them up from your school system. And then you add the student names. So this is really the bit that takes a little while. You can type the student names in one by one. But what I found is if you've got a list of the students' names, perhaps in Sector or DAM or your school information system, if you've got a list of their email addresses, you can actually copy and paste a whole class into here, and then it adds them all at once. So you need to add your students here. If you haven't got the list with you right now and you want to set up a notebook, you can come back and add the students later on. So you just type in the students' names, and then you decide what are the sections or dividers or topics that you want the students to have. So in this one, we've got handouts, class notes, homework, and miscellaneous. If it was physical science, you might have astronomy. I don't know what else you do in physical science. I'm not a science teacher, but you can add the topics or the weeks or the days that you're running the course. And that's it. Click next. It shows you what it's going to look like for both the student and the teacher. You hit create down here, and that creates the notebook in Office 365, and it shares a link out to students. So that's actually setting up a notebook. Is quite simple. It's just those steps there. And what I'm going to do now is go into a notebook live and just kind of show you some of the editing tools you've got and some of the management features. But I'll just pause there to see if there are any questions from the call so far that might be useful for me to go through.
No, it's okay, Steve. We've been answering them pretty much text-based, so you keep going, mate.
Great job. Thanks, Troy. Thanks, Sarah. OK, so here I've gone into a primary school notebook where this is in the content library. So this page here, the life cycle of the frog, as a teacher, I've written a task, a second task, and I've inserted some tables for the students to put their answers. However, the students can't come in here and write because it's read only in the content library. So you kind of have two choices. The students can copy and paste this page just by right-clicking on the page, copying, going to their own area and pasting, or as a teacher, you can actually distribute pages. So it's like going to the photocopier and handing them out. And I'll show you that live in a moment. So you can see here, we've added pictures, we've added text, and the students can come in and write on the page, or they can type, or they can insert audio. You can also enable a teacher-only section. So this can be really useful if you've got a teaching assistant, or perhaps you've got a subject specialist who works with your class in a primary school, or you've got a tutorial lead in a college or university. Really flexible way to add content that the students can't even read. So whereas the content library is read only, the teacher only section is not even read only. They don't even know that it's there. So once you've set all that up, you can go in and manage your notebooks. You just click on, rather than create a class notebook, if you go to manage notebooks, there's a whole lot of features that you can turn on here. So you can add extra sections. You can enable teacher only section groups, the one I just talked about, and you can lock and unlock the collaboration space. So I find that can be quite useful. The first time students use this, if they realise there's a space where they can chat and draw at each other, then it might be a good idea to lock that with certain classes. You know your students and whether you want to make that available. But you can also go into collaboration space permissions and set up mini groups. So I could set up a group for Troy and Sarah to collaborate and no one else can go in. Or I could set up a space for Troy and Sarah and Val to collaborate and make it read only to other students. So you've got quite a lot of flexibility about what you can do there. So in the last couple of sections, I want to just kind of show you how you can use the built-in features within OneNote. But there's a lot of features that you can embed, a lot of third-party things that you can embed directly into OneNote. So if you use Flipgrid or YouTube or Sway, you can actually copy those web addresses, paste them into OneNote, and they embed within the page. So I'll give you an example of that as well. So what I'm going to do now is just flip over to the web here. Here we go. And now I'm live in a OneNote book. So here's my office.com. I've logged on. I've got access to OneNote and the class notebook. If I click OneNote, it will actually list all the notebooks that I've accessed recently, whether they're ones I've created or whether they're ones other people have created. And from here, I can create a new blank notebook. So that would be if it was just for me or if I wanted to share it with staff, or students could create a blank notebook for their own notes, or a class notebook if I want to set it up with all of those permissions like I've just shown you. So you can go new, class notebook, and it takes you to the class notebook creator that I've just gone through. Excellent. If you click class notebooks, it lists all of the class notebooks that you are either teaching or you're a student in. But opening one up, it's literally just the same as a normal notebook. You just have, as a teacher, you get to see all your students and you get to see the collaboration space. So if I go in here to the collaboration space, I've added some text. This is an embedded YouTube clip, so I can actually play that inside OneNote without having to go to the YouTube page. And I can also just pick up my pen, hit draw. If I've got a device with a pen, I can just start writing on the page, which is really handy. And that works well on iPad devices as well. Anywhere with a pen, you can just pick up and write, but there's not really any structure to OneNote. So if I go to the home page here and I click on text, I can just come and I can type over here. So it's not really structured like a Word document or a published document. You can just write where you want and drag things around. And if I want to insert a picture, I can go and bring one from my computer, or I can take a picture with the camera, or I can search for one online. So let's find an animal and let's find a tiger, and then we'll embed it in there. So really easy to kind of add content to your page. And as you go and explore, I won't show you all of the options that you've got now. But if you go and explore, go to insert, you'll find that you can put a table. This can be really handy if you're organising content for students. You can actually sort of structure things, and you can have images within cells and that sort of thing. You can also, if I just move that over a bit, I can also go and format my text, so I can highlight, I can change the colour, I can change the font size and the font and all those sorts of things. So you've got quite a lot of control, just like you would in Word, really. But the thing that students really like is the ability to dictate. So rather than type, if they're discussing things in a group or they just want to get an idea down, you can just hit dictate. I don't know how this will work on a live event, but I'll give it a go. Use my microphone. Good afternoon, everybody. I am here demonstrating OneNote to the good teachers of Western Australia. Full stop. New paragraph. Thanks for coming along today. Exclamation mark. Excellent, that worked better than I thought. So you can dictate, that's a really useful tool. Now I'm currently doing all this in the web app. So I'm on the web, but you do have the option to open in app. And that's actually what I would recommend for most people, because it actually means that all of your content is actually saved on your device. It works best when you're working on your own computer. So if you've got your own laptop or you've got your own desktop or iPad, then I recommend using the OneNote app for your particular device. If you're sharing devices, like in a school, then you would generally do it through the web for a better experience. So really simple to kind of add content. You can insert all sorts of things. So you can record audio, and that will leave an audio recording within the page. You can bring in stickers. They can be really useful when you're giving feedback to students. So some are just really fun animals and shapes and things, but some of them are actually editable. So you can actually bring in a smiling camera and say, "Great effort, Troy." And then it will just add that onto the page. We're going a little bit slow today, but I think you get the idea there, and you can try that out. There's one other thing I wanted to just show you regarding maths. So with maths, you can actually, whether you are typing or drawing, it will actually, let's grab a pen here, and let's say 3x minus 2 equals 22. So I've just written a simple equation there, and I'm showing you this with as an equation, but write your equation or type it, select your equation and tap the maths button. Okay, I'm going to do that. So I'm now going to select that. I'm going to click maths. And it's actually picked up that it's an equation, and I can convert it to maths. You can also, I won't show you now, it will also solve those equations and take you step by step how those solutions were created. It will also sketch graphs and those sorts of things. So definitely have a look at the maths area when you've got a when you're trying this out yourself. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, you can embed YouTube clips and sways and forms and all those sorts of things. I gave you a list of the things that you can embed. So it makes it quite a let's just go over here, quite a flexible tool. So if I just write demo here, the other thing you can do is insert existing files. So you can insert attachments, and that could be a Word document or a PowerPoint, or you can actually print out a PDF or a Word document or something like that. I always recommend, though, as it saves on bandwidth, is if you can, is to convert your content into OneNote. So you can see I've copied text here. It may have been from a website, it may have been from a Word document. That's actually a lot less of an effort for your bandwidth to cope with than trying to share a whole PDF or PowerPoint to 30 students or 290 students in a university course. So just a tip is to, if you can, embed content or just copy and paste the text and images in. Excellent. So I'm just going to show you one other thing here. Built into OneNote, as well as a lot of other Microsoft products, is something called the Immersive Reader. So if I go to the Home button here, am I going to the Home button? I'm going to the View button, sorry. If I go to the View button here, my page, there's a tool here called the Immersive Reader, and this is an absolute joy to use, and I've seen some really great feedback from schools and from parents about how it's really helped students engage with content. So I'll just show you this. It was actually built a few years ago to support students with dyslexia, but a lot of new features have been added to it, and it now is a great tool for readers of all ages, including adults. So let me just open up Immersive Reader, and what it does, it actually takes your text full screen. So you're not distracted by any videos or any any videos or images that are on the screen, and you can just play that, and it will play back, the text to you. You can change the voice, the speed, and the selection. But what you can also do is customize it, especially for you. So if you've got a particular vision and you need to have things on a green background, you can easily just change that. You can change the size if you've got poor vision. And then there's a number of other things that you can do. So for example, if I go into grammar options, I can choose to break words into syllables. So afternoon, it will really help with my reading. And I can also choose to color code the different parts of speech. So I could have nouns in purple, verbs in red, and so on. So that's a really useful tool. And then finally, you've got options to have a picture dictionary. So when I click on a word, it gives me an image. So that can really help if you've got beginner readers or you've got students who have English as a second language. That's a great tool that's customizable for the user. You can also choose to change the language. So if I want to change to, say, I'll choose German. I can choose that when I click on a word, it gives me the German word, and I can listen to the German translation as well, or I can actually change the whole document and it will change everything on the page. You can also change the line focus. So if you struggle to read a whole whole page of text, you can actually have it focused on one area at a time. So that's a really great tool. There's some more features around Immersive Reader, but I think that's worth bringing your attention to. Seeing as it's available freely in OneNote, you can just copy and bring in text from anywhere, and you've got the ability to make it much more inclusive. So I'm just going to pause there, and then I'm going to show you some of the class notebook specific tools. But I'll just pause and see if there's anything else that you'd like me to go back over, Troy or Sarah.
Yes, Stephen, one of the questions that's come up a number of times is, can you tell us about schools in WA that are using this at a primary level and schools in WA that are using this at a secondary level?
Yeah, I certainly can. I would say in Western Australia department schools, it's slightly, I know that's most people on the call, it's slightly different in Catholic and independent schools, but this has only been available for just over a year now in Department of Education, on the whole, the class notebook. So a lot of high schools are making use of it, so they're using it for their Year 8 science class or their Year 11 computer science class or whatever it might be. So the way it's set up is each teacher would have a notebook for each of the classes or courses that they teach. It works really well. It does work best if students have one-to-one, because then they can sync and have their content available offline. It makes it a bit quicker. If you're sharing devices like a trolley of laptops or a lab, it's only really doable in the web, so you lose a few of the features. But as you can see today, everything I've done has been with it in the web, so it's not too bad. Primary schools, I've seen a few schools using it, mainly for staff sharing their planning and meetings and senior leadership team organising policies and procedures and that sort of thing. So it's mainly been a teacher tool in primary school, although I have seen some really good use of teachers setting up a notebook for their class and having extra content they're sharing out with students. And I've actually seen one school in WA that use it with pre-primary students. The students don't actually log on and access it themselves, but the teacher shares their login with the parents, and they put in weekly videos and lyrics to songs that they're doing, and useful links and resources that they can access to help their students carry on learning at their children carry on learning at home. So there are some examples out there. If you ask in so in Department of Education schools, you've got Connect. If you ask in there, there's an Office 365 community. You'll get some examples and context of people that are using it.
Great, Steve. Could you also please show again how to embed web links and YouTube clips, and maybe just take it a bit slower?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so I've just written embed links there. So if I want to link to the ABC news website, let's link to sport. I can just grab that web address up there, copy it. Let's go back to the right page over here and paste that in. So that's just a link. And if a student clicks on that, they'll go straight to that website. If they want to actually grab some text, it's just really a case of picking up some text, whether it's from a website or somewhere else. I'm gonna close that so I don't go to the wrong place, and you can just paste that in. So Control V or right click paste, and it will bring in the text and the images, and all of that text and image will also come up with the immersive reader. YouTube is a really great one, actually, and one of the things I like about YouTube is that it doesn't have that YouTube. Let's find a OneNote video. So here's a OneNote video. Let's see how to create a to-do list in OneNote. So I can open up this video, and all I need to do is just grab the web address of that video, go back to my OneNote book and just right click paste. I can't in the browser, so I've got to use Control and V. There we go, Control and V on my keyboard, and then automatically that video is embedded there. And what's really nice about that is you don't see all of the really annoying comments and adverts. It just goes straight into the video, and then we can play that live through OneNote. So we could have that there, and students can make notes by the side, or you could put some comments or questions by the side. So that's adding a YouTube clip. What you can also do is, I'm just going to see if I've got any sways in here. Yeah, I've got a sway here. So I can actually go and grab oh, that one wasn't found. This is a new demo account, so I might not. So let's just say I've created a sway. So Sway is also available free as part of Office 365 for students and staff. And what I can do is edit this sway. Sorry, I'm just trying to edit a whole brand new sway within this example. So I can edit a sway, and when I go to share it, I can either choose whether just to share people within my school or anyone with the link. And I can just grab that link, and that sway is also embeddable just by Control V. That sway will actually be embedded in the OneNote as well. So all of the things I showed you, sway, you can do that with forms, you can do that with Flipgrid, Desmos, Vimeo. There's some music ones. There's all sorts of science ones as well. I put the link in at the start of this session. You can see the types of things that you can embed. Excellent. So I'm just going to finish off by just showing you a couple of the teacher tools you've got within Class Notebook. So all of the stuff I've just shown you there, the copying and pasting, the embedding, that's available to students and staff, whether they're in a OneNote or a class notebook OneNote. It doesn't matter, it's the same features. But as a teacher, you actually have access to this new area called Class Notebook. And what that does is it adds a couple of extra features, and I'm just going to show you the two main ones. So the first one is distributing a page. And as I said at the start, anything in the content library is read-only to the students. I might want every student to have access to this page. I could ask them to go in and copy and paste it themselves, or there's a shortcut here in which I can say distribute page, and then I can distribute that page to the whole class at once. Or if I want to differentiate my work, I can distribute it to certain students. So this is going to send this page to every student and it'll go straight into their biology section. And it'll just do that in the background, so I can close that. I normally recommend doing that sort of at least half an hour before the students need to use it, to give it time to be sent up to the internet and then back down again. I think particularly now, as there are hundreds of thousands more people using this at the moment. So you can distribute content to a whole class or to individual students. So if I wanted to just send it to a couple of students, I would actually click individual distribution and say, okay, Ashley, Delbert, Douglas and Ella need some slightly easier tasks to do, and I can send them something different. So that's really nice. The other thing you can do is review student work. So rather than clicking into each student individually, I can click on review student work. I can go into, I'm trying to think which one's got something in. I can go into anatomy, and then I can just click on each student. I haven't saved anything to anatomy, but what that will do is that will actually go into each student's area, and you can review each page one by one. So if I go into handouts and say mathematical review, I can actually then click on Enrico's, and I can see all the work that Enrico's done. Then I can click on Terry, Douglas, Marsha, and so on. And the other really useful thing you can do here is you can lock the page. So if you've set a task for the students to do and Enrico's done it, you can make comments on here or leave audio feedback or a sticker or whatever you do, and you can lock it so that the students can no longer add to it. So there's some really quite powerful things in there for teaching and learning, particularly when students are working at their own pace or in their own environment. So that's really all I wanted to share today. I will pause there and see if there are any questions, and then I'm just going to give you a couple of links with some further information.
Steve, I've got a question for you. Oh, sorry.
You go ahead, Troy.
The one question is, and I know I would know the answer to this, Stephen, but please, if you could take it for us. It seems we cannot embed any videos. Could that be an organisation restriction?
That was the question I was going to pose to you too.
No, it could be an organisation restriction. It could be a browser. So if I just make a new page, we do recommend for online. We do recommend Edge, Firefox, and Chrome. So you do. It may be if you're using Safari or Internet Explorer, there are certain things you can't do. So these are kind of the three modern browsers. So it may be that you're using Safari or Internet Explorer, in which case you will run into some difficulties, or it may be a school setting. If it doesn't work in the app, try it online. If it doesn't work online, try it in the app. Those are really the suggestions for now, or contact your IT team. Thanks.
Can I also add, Stephen, that it might be that someone might be using an older version of OneNote rather than the Windows 10 app or an updated version of 2016. That could be the issue as well.
Yeah, that's a good point as well. So do check you should be able to do it in the browser. That's my kind of go-to place because it's always updated in the browser. But there are some older versions of OneNote around. So yeah, contact one of us on Twitter and we can take that further. Excellent. So I'm just going to go back to my slides, which are here. Oh, which are here. There we go. Questions? We've addressed a few as we go through. I really just wanted to share 2 links that I think are really useful. There's a site called the Microsoft Educator Community. I think they've changed the name now. I think it's, I'm just going to change my pen. They call it the Centre now. Oh, that wasn't changing my pen. That was zooming in. So yeah, it's actually called the Microsoft Educator Centre, and being a US company, they've spelt it wrong. Education.microsoft.com. If you go there, there are lots of resources and online courses that you can do. Search for OneNote and you'll find scenario-based courses. So there's one for OneNote for staff, a collaboration. There's one for OneNote for students, and there's lots of other ones. This one down the bottom here, OneNoteInEducation.com, has got some really great interactive video demos and courses that you can just go through at your own pace. The feedback from teachers is that that is a very useful site. Lots of scenarios there. There's information for teachers and for students, and like I've just been talking quite quickly and showing you lots of things, you can actually pause and try things out in those video demos. So that's it for me. Thanks so much for giving up your time on a Friday morning. If you're in WA or whatever time it might be.
It's Thursday.
Thursday? I don't even know.
I know.
Wherever you might be in the world, or if you're watching this later, thanks for tuning in. And Sarah, do you want to just say goodbye?
Yes, just to let you all know that this recording once again will be put up onto to the news section on our website. Also keep an eye on the events page on our site as well. Steve and I will get together again today and set some more times for next week to delve a little bit further into some of these sessions. As you know, as you may be aware, there is there's 2 more tomorrow. One is around Minecraft and the other one is around PowerPoint. Again, if you want to sign up to those, they're on our website under events. Any questions, please feel free to email me. I have sent an email out to all registrants this morning, so hopefully you've got that, and feel free to forward any questions there. Thanks very much, guys.
Just before we go, guys, I have thrown in the link to our How Schools Can Ramp Up Remote Learning Programs Quickly with Microsoft Teams, and there's also a way there that you can actually ask online questions as well. So that's just been popped into the Q&A just now.
Thanks, Troy. Thanks, Sarah. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you very much.